Alright everybody, welcome to JavaScript with Joe. We are on day 5 of the 25-day Advent of Code challenge for 2021. It's good to see there's a few people here this week, so feel free to chime in with any questions you have about anything. I try and make this accessible to people who've never done JavaScript before, and usually don't fail to do so because it will very immediately become quite difficult. Last week I didn't even finish the first part of the challenge, so some of these are quite difficult. But if anything jumps out as you as something that you could write better or something you don't understand, feel free to ask questions in the chat and I will try my best to address those. Okay, so the two things you'll probably need to see in the chat are the Advent of Code link, so that's the challenge we're doing today if you want to read it on your own time. And I also have this is a website called Repple, and that's basically somewhere you can run Python, JavaScript, whatever language you want, and you don't really need to set up anything or do anything on your local machine, so it kind of keeps it easy and accessible if you just want to jump into some coding and not worry about setting that up locally. One second, sorry, I should have made this before. It's not going anywhere else, is it? Well, if it doesn't work, I'll just write it in my code from last week anyway. Apologies everybody, just give this a couple of seconds. Is this anybody's first time writing or learning any JavaScript, or would you describe yourself as beginners, or where are you all at? I am worried. I want something to show up. I want to start coding. It's only a 1 hour time slot. Is this just Repple? It's just Repple that's slow. Maybe there's something else I can use in the meantime. Ah, it's working now. Did I speak too soon? It's okay. It's just the website is not doing great. I should have got it up 10 minutes before I started, but it'll come. I appreciate your patience there. Right, I'll use this one for now, and we can try opening that in a little bit. Okay. Why does it say undefined? It should be writing test. I'm not really happy with this because it's not logging out stuff normally anyway. Do I just have to write test? Is there no console? That's weird. X equals 3. Okay, well, it seems to be doing something a bit line by line, but let's just get started and hopefully the Repples will come back shortly. Okay, so day 5, hydrothermal venture. You come across a field of hydrothermal vents on the ocean floor. There's a nice picture of hydrothermal vents for me. These vents constantly produce large, opaque clouds, so it would be best to avoid them if possible. They tend to form in lines. The submarine helpfully produces a list of nearby lines of vents. Your puzzle input for you to review. For example, 09 to 59, 80 to 08, 94 to 34, and so on. Each line of vents is given as a line segment in the format x1, y1 to x2, y2, where x1 and y1 are the coordinates of one end of the line segments and x2, y2 are the coordinates of the other end. These line segments include the points at both ends, so 1 to 1 to 1 to 3 will cover 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3. 9 to 7 will cover, something makes sense. Only consider horizontal and vertical lines. So each of these challenges in Advent of Code has two parts to them, so I'm expecting that this part will probably be including diagonals later on if we finish the first half. So it's important we don't lock ourselves out of anything like that, but for now we've got horizontal and vertical lines, that'll be fine. So the horizontal and vertical lines from the above list would produce the following diagram. So not only is it drawing those lines, but it's also sort of adding them up where they cross over, I suppose. I don't know what that 2, 2 is. Top left corner is 0, 0, bottom right corner is 9, 9. Each position is shown as the number of lines which cover that point, or a dot if no line covers that point. The top left pair of ones comes from 2, 2 to 2, 1. The very bottom is formed by the overlapping lines 0, 9 to 5, 9 and 0, 9 to 2, 9. To avoid the most dangerous error, you need to determine the number of points where at least 2 lines overlap in the above example. So that's all these 2's, and there are 5 of those 2's, and that will be our answer. And then we have a puzzle input that will be a much bigger list. So that grid isn't actually 9 by 9, it looks like it's 999 by 999. But that shouldn't really change the way we solve the problem anyway. Okay, so to start with, I think it would help even if we could reach a point where we're logging out just this empty grid. Let's see if this is going to work yet. So to start with, as we've seen in JavaScript, you can write normal maths like you would do in any other language. 3 plus 3 will give you 6. 3 minus 3 will give you 0. If you want to multiply numbers, you can't use x though, because that's just a string. So a lot of languages will use an asterisk to multiply those numbers together. We can also use the slash to divide numbers. So that's our basic maths. Now the next thing we might want to do is store that math somewhere else. So instead of doing 3 plus 3, we might want to say we might want to store that value in what's called a variable, which can be denoted with var. So we might say var sum equals 3 plus 3. And it helpfully evaluates that for us, though you don't normally get this in all your Repples. So, well, it's very weird using something other than Repple. Okay, so now we can access that at any point. We can start doing stuff like sum plus sum, and that will give us 12 instead of 6. You know, we can treat this like any other maths number because it is just a number held in a useful name called sum. In more modern JavaScript, you might see this called let. or you might see it called const if it's not supposed to change for constant. But for now, let's just assume it's always a variable. Other things we can do is log out stuff. Normally we'd have to type console.log, but in this case we don't actually need to do the console.log because there isn't a console, so we can just type sum. So that's our first notation, our notion, sort of a notion of storing a number with a useful name that we might use elsewhere. So it might be called something like my age, and I might set that to be 27. And we know that if I said, on my birthday, my age will become my age plus 1, that kind of makes more sense to us. It's closer to a sort of an English sentence in programming. How long is that var available? It'll only be available as long as this program is running. So if I run the code again, we'll lose any updates we make to that variable. So we can actually update the variable by saying something like my age equals my age plus 1. And now every time we access my age, it'll be 28. But if we run all this code again, it resets back to 27. So it just generally runs in line order. Unless we do something that takes a long time, then we might have to wait for those results to come back. But with this addition, it happens so quick that it's not a problem. So that's our first notion, sort of storing values in usefully named variables. The next thing we're probably going to need is just iteration. So instead of simply using these names as single ages, we might have something called my ages. And that will be a list. So with the square brackets, we notate what's called a list, and that could be a collection of ages. And with this notation, we can actually start iterating over that list. So instead of just having one age, we could do something like for each item in this list of ages, we can print that, we can increment them all, we can do all sorts of stuff. So JavaScript has a function called for each, which takes another function or an arrow function. So we could say age, which is another variable name. So that will refer to one age in my ages. And then we can do something with that. So we can just return age, or we can console.log the age, but I don't think that will do anything here. So I'm not really sure how I'm supposed to use this REPL if I actually want to print anything out. Do they have help? So normally this log would print out each of those ages one at a time. Why would I want this? How do I do this? Repple.js. Do they have a print function in here? No. Array, yeah. Sorry, my other main language is Python, so it's quite tricky. I'm not sure what I can do to actually start logging stuff out here though, because console.log doesn't seem to be working. I'll maybe try this. No, no idea. I wonder if I have Node.js installed. I'm just going to see if I can. I'm not sure if I even have JavaScript installed, but let's see. Right. Okay, we're going to do this instead. I'm not going to do it in Repple, and I might have to copy and paste into a Repple later. But let's do this for now. So I'm going to have to jump. Might have to jump through a lot of different things, but I'll try and keep it as readable as it was before. And did I close my Repple.js? Okay. So we've got our for eaches. Let's do, that's where we were at. My age is 27, 26, 30, and we were showing, sorry, that's Python again. We were showing that my ages can be iterated over with a for each function, and we can console.log the age. So if we run that, we should just see them line by line, which is closer to what I want. Now, really what I want to do is sort of have this big 9x9 array, list, array even, a 2D array, or just a 1D array of strings that I iterate over. Either is fine, really. And then I need to print those out and just create that sort of dot pattern that we're seeing. So we should be seeing 9 lots of 9 dots. How am I going to do that? Create. I mean, I can just write one, right? So I could just start with copying that 9 times. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then we actually want, I guess I'll call this like a line, and then the line is made up of, a whole board is made up of an array of 9 of those lines. 2, 3, 4, oops. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And now if I print the board out, so let's skip that for now. Console.log the board. Yes, sorry about that. I will move my video down. Thank you, Thomas. Okay, so now we've got hopefully nine lots of these 9 dots. We should be able to iterate over this with 2 for loops. We can do for. Very good. And then I actually need another for loop underneath that. So for. Nice. Let's call those X and Y as well. Oops. So that should log out everything in a line. That's one at a time. I don't want one at a time. I want to do it for each line we're in. I want to print them all as on the same line. So I don't actually want a console.log because that'll put a line on at the end. So console.log without new line JavaScript. So I think if I use this instead, it should not by default add that extra line in. Yep. I don't need to log the board anymore. So now we should just have like 81 lines printed. Oh. Where are they getting logged from? Oh, it's not being logged, it's just scrolling me up. There we go. Now what I want is at the end of each line to also just write a new line. So I'll just do a console.log that will write a new line. So we should get a grid then. Cool. So that should be 9 by 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, I trust them. Okay, so oops. How do I zoom out? There we go. So now we've got our empty board. We need to start reading in some inputs. So this is our, we need a way to process this list into an actual instruction. See if the Repples are going to load yet. Doesn't look like it. Okay. So next we need something that will convert this input into, I suppose, the actual coordinate positions we want to update. And what is the difference between the scope of variables declared with var versus let? I believe, I mean, one difference I'm aware of is that I think lets can be hoisted, but otherwise I don't know. I mean, it sounds like you two know enough already to ask the question, so. Oh wow, I didn't know that. Thank you, teaching me. Var is global scope, letting const a block scope. Right, so let's assume I've got this read in as a string. So we've not seen any strings yet. So let input equal that. The input, but what I actually want to do is split it into the parts. Oh, that's very useful. I guess I can do let inputs equal that split. And then that should just give us 0, 9, and 5, 9. So then again, we want to split them. I don't know if I can, I guess I can map over them. So I can go inputs.map, input arrow, input.split. I think that might split them into another list though, which I don't want. No? Input.split. I need to reassign inputs here. Okay. Does that help me? Kinda. I guess the first part is the X and the second part is the Y. So next what I need to do is something that will map this to the full coordinates I need. So I need to get from that. I need to get from that to 1, 9, 2, 9, 3, 9, 4, 9, 5, 9. So I guess really what I need to do there is just iterate over the x's and iterate over the y's. So I could say for let x equal, it would be inputs 0. Let's say let x1 equal input 0, 0. Let y1 equal input 0, 0. Let x2. Wow, this is good co-piloting here. That's GitHub Copilot that uses AI to write your code for you, so I've got no idea how it's doing that. Oh, you know, it's probably grabbing other people's advent of code on GitHub, which is why it's so relevant. So we want to iterate from x1 up to x2. Do I want to do that? I don't think I want to do that. I just want one for loop. Hello Matthew, you've joined just in time. It's not gone well today. I couldn't get my editor working in time, so I'm just having a bit of a nightmare. But it's okay. We've got a good crowd here. We're having a good time. X is less than x2. X plus plus. And then I'll just console.log x, and that should give me 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, hopefully. That needs to be inclusive of that. And I need to get rid of these lines. Yep, cool. So those are our x coordinates. And at the moment we know it's always going to be a horizontal or a vertical line, so that covers our horizontal lines. And this will cover our vertical lines. GitHub Copilot's being very, very helpful. Cool, so for vertical lines, nothing should change in that one. Oh. Why does it do that? So it's going from y equals 0, because I told it to be 0, but it shouldn't be 0, it should be y1. And this should be x1. Oh. x1 is 0. So let x equal 0, x is less than 5, x plus plus. Console.log. Why do you not log anything? What is x1? That's my next hunch. Matthew, no swearing, please. This is a family stream. 5. That works too. My other hunch is maybe that it's not an integer, and so it's not being cast as an integer there. It's a number, so it's all good. So what is this doing? Oh, does x already exist somewhere? Why can I check the type of x here? It should be the type of x1, which is also an, oh, I haven't saved. It's a string. That could be why. I don't know why it has access to x, because that should be inside the for loop scope. Is this what we were saying earlier about letting const? Oh, var is global scope. There we go. So if I do this, that shouldn't work. Oh, but it will work because it's also var up here. Undefined. Okay, cool. Thanks, everybody. I feel like I'm supposed to be teaching you, but you're all teaching me. Hey, Matthew, how dare you? Right. That came in very handy very quickly. Thank you, everybody. Although it's still not... Oh, because it's a string, right? So these should be... Is it parseInt for JavaScript? Oops. There we go. So y is going from 9 to 9, but it shouldn't be. So this loop shouldn't be running if they're already equal to each other, but it runs once. How am I going to stop that? Jeez. See, Dom, you're making me blush now. I'm very embarrassed. I'm just trying to write some good JavaScript for all these attendees. How do I stop it? How do I make sure a for loop doesn't run at least once? I feel like I have to do not a for loop, right? Or I could just write a little if statement. I actually am just getting incredibly flustered by the YouTube chat. Here you go. Okay, let's say if y1 does not equal y2, then we'll console log. And that kind of protects us from this one case. And we'll do the same in here. Okay, so that gets rid of our 9, I think. Yes, so that should be giving me only the updates I want. Now, instead of console logging x, I actually want to log, I guess, the actual coordinates. So I can do console.log x. Let's do some string interpolation. X and dollar signs. Oops. And do I want y1? I guess I do. Thank you, GitHub Copilot. And then the same in my other one, though it shouldn't be running at all, and that will be x1, y1. And this will be what we'll have to change later if we need to support diagonals, but for now we should be okay. So we've got our coordinates there that need to be updated, 0 to 9 to 5 to 9. That's looking pretty good to me. We need to find a way to update those coordinates in the actual board we've got so far. So we should just be able to say board xy, except it needs to be y1 equals, let's just assume it's equal to 1 for now. And then exactly the same in the other one, though it shouldn't be running. In fact, it's a bit premature to even be checking this, but that should be x1y. And then if we run this print, let's wrap this up in a function actually. Const print board equals, and then this is just going to print all this. So we should just be able to call print board at any time now, and we'll get a print of the board. So if I call print board there, and at the end we should have the board before and after that update happens. Hey, that's not right. What gives? It should be only these coordinates being updated, but it looks like it's updated the final one of every term. So looking at that, it should be setting only this one should be running. So let's comment that out and see if anything changes. No, good. So in this one, for some reason, when I say x is equal to 0, if x is not equal, if 0 is not equal to 5, log 0.9, which it does there, and update the board 0, and y1 is 9. So 0.9 should be updated to a 1, which is there. And that is that backwards? Let's see what they did here. Oh. 0.9 to 5.9 should be this one to this one. So I might have flipped my x and y's around a bit. But even then it's still doing way more than it should be doing. So let's log out x2 here anyway. It is 5. Let's log out. Well, we log out everything we're doing there as well, so I don't see why it would continue beyond that if they're not the same, if they're not equal to, and x is being incremented. Let's print the whole board while we've got this function anyway. So this should let us at least see how it's building up. So we can see that it's somehow updating the entire row on every run. How are you doing that? Board 09. What is Y1? Should be 9. Yeah, board 09 is equal to 1. Ah, I know why. It's because I created this line as they're all the same object. So if I go like here, line, if I update like line 2 to contain x, it will update all of the lines because they're all pointing to the same object. Right, okay. So I need to make like a copy of this to be my actual board. Nice little JavaScript issues here. So I just need to make an actual copy of the board instead. And then I can just use that one. It's a bit weird. Maybe I should call this like board deep, and then this can be the actual board. So what's happening there is it's just each line in that array is pointing to the same variable. So by doing this, I'm actually making a copy of those values instead of sharing a variable with everybody else. Oh. Did I change anything there? Did I change anything? I mean, again, that should board 0. No, I've done the same thing. Okay. If there was a different way I could make up like a grid. Spread operator shallow copy. Doesn't safely copy multi-dimensional arrays. Yuck. Maybe I can do just a map of the board. Is that going to do the same thing? Just the same thing. What? Do I need to do like a board like this, but map over each item as well? So like do board. Oh. Hey, that worked. God damn it. That's very, very upsetting. Okay, so I basically had to, because of the way I built up that array, I should have just done that in the first place, but that's a very JavaScripty problem, so make a copy of the board. Function to print board. Okay, so now what we have at the end is almost what we want, although it does seem to have printed the board one more time than I wanted to. But I largely trust that now, so I'm going to take that out, even though I can see there's an extra run. Oh, I don't know. Okay, so we've got an empty board, we've got our one line, it's going from 0 to 9 to 5 to 9, and then it's just making it immediately, because I just print the board now twice. Cool. So our horizontal lines will work now, although they're the opposite of what they should be. So I need to rotate those, so instead of doing X and Y, let's just make sure I've got this all right. So X will iterate over the actual, yeah, so that should be Y, Y, Y. That should be X, X, X. And then, is it the same now? Ooh. Why is it complaining about the length? Cannot read. Well, it's a square array anyway, so that doesn't matter. Oh. Now everything is gone. So maybe I did need that board length. Actually, it doesn't matter which way around the board is, it just makes it a little bit harder to verify. No, it does matter. Because that should only be... No, that should be okay. Although it does look like there's a missing character. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Why is this one added a 1 on the end? It should be a dot, but it seems to be one further along than it needs to be. There we go. And we don't actually want it to be 1, we want it to be whatever's currently in there plus 1. So pass int plus 1. Oh, unless it's 0. I'm going to replace all these dots with zeros now, just so that conversion doesn't break anything. So our board won't look quite the same. It's going to all be zeros now. The chunk argument must be a string. Well, that's probably, this is the only thing we've changed, you'd hope. So pass int number in the board position. Let's just set it to 1 for now and see what happens. No, invalid argument type. Line 43. Here, print board argument type. It doesn't need an argument. Uh, 15. But it's all the same. I wonder if this is going out of range somehow. Somewhere we're probably writing one more than we should do. Good night, Matthew. Thank you for coming. Right, let's deal with that later maybe. Let's just assume it wants ones then, if it's gonna get really angry about it. Okay. will Repple let me back in yet? It will not. Okay. So we basically got only the first line done. So instead we need to start building up more lines. So instead of just having line number 1, we need, what was the next one? This. So we can start to like run all of this again for each one. So we can copy all that actually. And this will begin to form our next function. So this one will let us test our vertical lines. Split, we don't want that, we want this. And let it run for just the vertical lines. Oops. Yes. So there seems to be no iteration there because I need to pass all these ints again. They don't need to be defined again. Cool. So now we can see we should have that one from 09 to 59, which is these, and this bottom one from 80 to 08. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's one more along than it should be. No. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's in the right place, but I think we have one less grid than we should have. Let's check their board. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah. So we're underwriting the board size as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Which means this was in the right place. And there shouldn't be 9 dots on each line. There should be 10. And there should be 10 lines as well. Cool. So now I guess we should probably split this into sort of a reusable function. So let's do, I don't know, right line. It needs a line input, and then it's going to do all this. Line is going to be our input instead. Let's keep that actually. Equals line. So that goes in, that goes in. Then it needs to run the horizontal and the vertical lines for each bit of code. I guess we could split it depending on whether it's horizontal or vertical, but I'll leave that for now. And then we shouldn't need any of this anymore except for the print board. So now we should just be able to call right line. What's it complaining about there? Cool. So now we have a function where we can just call the writeLine object function for each input string we have. So we should just be able to call it with these three and see some progress basically. And so we've got our 0s to 9s, our 8s to 8s, and then 3 to 4 looks like it doesn't generate anything, even though it should. So it should be saying 3 is, ooh. So I guess it, at the moment, so that one will be saying is 9 less than 3. No, it's not, so it's not doing anything. So we need to actually assign these to whichever one is smaller. So we could do something like whatever happens, x1 needs to be smaller than x2. So we could do like let's x1 equal, and then we can do this is smaller than this, then it's x1, otherwise it's x2. And then we need to do the same for, like the opposite for x1 and the same for y1. That sucks. I'm not a fan of this. Cannot access x1 before it's defined. Yeah, it should be. Oh. So I've just realized x1 and x2 are the same thing. I normally just put the Tron soundtrack on DOM. Oh, I've made such a mess of this. Which one was x2? x2 was the second input. The first input, the second input. Oh, that's my 5-minute warning as well. I can't believe that's been an hour. I've barely done anything. If... No, that was right. That should be 0. And then we should be returning inputs 0, 0 wherever it says x1. Inputs... Ooh. Inputs 1, 0 wherever it says x2. Inputs 0, 1 wherever it says y1. And inputs 1, 1 wherever it says y2. We're not even going to come close to this one. Ah! JS50. So now it's complaining about updating the board because the board cannot be updated. Probably because these numbers are a total mess now. Did it work if I didn't get to the third one? I don't think so, because these aren't running properly anymore either. Yeah, this is messing everything up. guess. So if I have like the numbers 0 and let's say 3 and 9 and 9 and 3, 3 and 9 and 9 and 3. In both cases I want the 3. So I just need to check which one's less than the other one. And then use that to iterate up to the other one. But I'm not really sure. I'm very upset at Repple. I think I'll leave it just here, and it just goes to show that JavaScript is very, very hard, and these weird logic problems are very, very hard and not particularly conducive to playing nice anyway. But I think it's as important to show that these problems aren't all easy to do as it is to show that they are. And if you want to see some where I've actually done them correctly, go watch the first 4 days because I got all the points there, but not on this one. So yeah, thank you everybody. If you have any questions, feel free to throw them my way, though I feel like you've all taught me a lot today, more than I've taught you anywho. So thank you, and maybe see you next week. Bye bye.